Sparking Change with Gigi, a show that aims to make the world a better place by bringing together authentic minds. This show encourages each of us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get ready to be inspired and join us on this journey to create a brighter future for all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sparking Change with Gigi. I'm your host, Giovanna Tartarone, and I have my dear friend Lefford Faith here. And today we're going to be talking about the power of words, transforming lives through your story. And I invited Lefford because he is the master when it comes to really sharing our stories, where he has helped me tremendously to bring out my story to the world. And he's done many TED Talks, and you are a speaker, and you are a trainer when it comes to helping people share their stories. So Lefford, welcome to the show again. You're not a stranger here. And I'd love to hear, how can you guide, because many of us have stories to share, but we are afraid to step out and share our stories. So can we talk about all your secrets and the words of wisdom that you can share with the world to help us navigate this way of finding ways to share our stories with ease?
Awesome. Well, thanks, Giovanna, Gigi, for having me here. And no, I can't share all the secrets because there's so much out there. And one of the things I'm learning that it's not a secret. One of my favorite ways to put this is that everybody speaks, right? We just need to have something good to say so people want to listen. And all of us have stories, all of us have things that we've been through that if we share them correctly and appropriately, we can actually help people with our story. So I'm really excited about this opportunity to speak to you. And prayerfully, someone will hear something today that will not only encourage them to tell their story because it's going to help others, but make them feel a little bit more comfortable with actually sharing.
Absolutely. And I love the way you said that through their story, they're making a difference. And, I started my venture on Facebook doing Bounce Back and Rise. And Rise was for real inspirational stories that I wanted people to bring out to the world. And then that venture led me here to have this show to, again, bring on people to share their stories. But where does someone begin when they're ready? What's the first step they should take in order to begin their journey of seeking how to share their stories?
Okay, well, there's three things. If I was going to tell somebody to start, I'd start with this three keys, and it is have something good to say, say it well, and then say it so it will stick. Right? Have something good to say. And the easy part about that, Gigi, is this, that all of us have some lived experiences. All of us have gone through stuff. No matter how old we are, no matter young we are, we've gone through some things. And so we have some good stuff to say because it can help somebody. I look at sharing stories as giving people gifts, right? Giving them a gift so they can live their life better and helpful. Way back in the day, way back in the day, the reason that the human race has survived is that we've told each other stories. We may have told a story about, hey, don't go out at night by yourself because these tigers will kill and eat you. And how they pass that information on is by story. If you build your house on solid rock behind the wood, the wind wouldn't blow it down. So we use these lived experiences and we shared stories with each other to help and pass on information. I'm a believer, and one of the greatest teachers in the world, we call him Jesus, told parables, told stories for ways for us to live a better way. All of the greats have done that. So storytelling is an art of passing on information and sharing. So if you look at it like that, I got something good to say. and I want to share it with somebody for their good, for their benefit, I think, Giovanna, it takes a load off, right? We're not doing this to get something. We're doing this to give something to help somebody else out. So have something good to say.
Yes. And I love that because giving is really receiving at the same time, right? I've learned that so much through the studies that we have done at the Napoleon Hill Institute. It's really looking at when you are sharing and your story, not only are you inspiring somebody else, but when you're making an impact to someone's life, well, guess what? If they become happy and you can change a person's life, then you're becoming happy. You're going to be granted that same happiness. So I love that. I know one of the things in sharing stories is we become vulnerable, but vulnerability really opens up our heart to show that, we're no different. In some ways, we are alike. And being vulnerable takes courage, right? Takes courage. Any advice can you share with having people take that step of vulnerability?
Yeah, Giovanna, I love that whole thought about the vulnerability piece because,
Mhm.
people will respect you because of the great things you did. And in this world of thought leaders and influencers, everybody wants to show you their jet. Everybody wants to show you their Lambo. Everyone wants to show you all the money they got and
Mhm.
the six pack abs, the hot body, all that stuff. Yeah, and people will respect you for that. But Giovanna, people will love you for your vulnerabilities. They'll love you for the fact that you said, listen, you see me where now with this stuff, but you should have been there when I wasn't doing so well, when I was struggling with addiction, when I was struggling with an illness, when I wasn't living my best life, when I wasn't working like I was supposed to be, I wasn't living out my purpose,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so, but based on that, I took these 2 or 3 or 4 steps. I read this book. I followed this coach and now I'm living my life. You're showing them where you are now, where
Mm.
you were in the past, and you
Mhm.
actually said, how did I get here? The whole then, now, and how, right? So vulnerability, you can't truly be vulnerable, Gigi, if you're saying, I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth and I went to the best schools and everybody take care of me. And so now I'm rich and famous and beautiful. Well, what about all of us that struggled? So your vulnerability helps, and people buy into you. I'm convinced that people buy into the messenger before they buy into the message.
Oh, I totally agree because you're connecting heart to heart, right? You're being authentic and you're sharing your stories of pain and suffering and how you made it through. And I truly believe this is what we're here to do in essence. Like we forgot about how we can really hold hands together versus compete against each other, right? Because when you're showing off everything you have, to me it's like, look, I'm better than you. And that sense is not connecting, that actually people you become detached from that. So I love what you just said, how we ourselves give to receive from that vulnerability, right? And we're also inspiring others through that because my story with the cancer could be somebody else's story, and it would lift them up and give them some hope that if I made it, they can make it. And I believe
Yes.
you know we are like each other's mental doctors.
Yeah.
We
We're
mind
we're
body.
each other's brother and sister. We are
We-
our own brothers and sisters. And there's a couple of things that you said I want to talk to. I love authenticity. But
Mm,
authenticity isn't the only thing. You could be
mhm,
authentic and be authentically wrong. You could be
mhm.
authentically bad, but authenticity with a positive lean to it.
Of course, with the
Yeah.
good intentions, right?
Good intentions, authentically that because some of us have base instincts not to be good, right? So more often than not, we can be selfish and greedy and all that thing. But when we're talking about being authentic, we're talking about the authentic good, not just for our good, but for the world's good. And
Yes.
another thing is, I don't give to receive. I just realize, based on what Ralph Waldo Emerson said, that you can't do anything to or for someone without that thing coming back to you, right?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
whatever you do to or for a person is going to be done to or for you, not necessarily from the person that you did it to, but
Right.
whatever you do is going to come back. And many
That
of us think tenfold, right? So it's an expectation. I'm not doing it to get. I just realize that when I do, I get. And that is, to me, and it's an amazing thing. And by using our voice, by using our story, we can do more and help more folks. uh
absolutely.
and as we go there, because there's so, as we talked about earlier, there's so much there, and I'm open for questions and thoughts, but I want to go to the next place. So we got something good to say. We say it well. It's hugely important that what we have to say, we said it well. And I'm not talking about, Giovanna, perfection. I'm not talking about perfection. I'm just saying it well. Say it in a clear enough voice so people can get it. uh don't put people on their back foot. Don't have people negative and like hard for them to follow you. Say it well.
Mm.
Uh, I know for a fact, I have two sons, I got two daughters, I got a wife, I got four grandchildren, um, two grandsons and two granddaughters. I know that I can speak to one daughter one way and another daughter another way. I can
Mm.
speak to one son one way and the other son this way. My grandkids, that I can speak to them different ways. When I'm talking about say it well, speak to a particular person so that person wants to hear you. I
Gotcha.
spent I spent 31 years in the military, GG, and so I have a little bit of a thick skin.
Mm.
But what I realize is that I may not be able to talk to you like I would talk to one of my airmen. I may
So know your
yell.
audience.
Yeah, you got to know your audience and know how they react and respond to the way we speak to them. So you have to say it well. And just because this person takes it this way doesn't mean everybody takes it the same way. If we were live now and there were
Mm.
people in this audience that I can actually talk to, somebody's probably asking, but Lefford, what if you're speaking to to dozens or hundreds or thousands of people? How do you speak to everybody and not offend anybody? Well, there's some basic things that you do. You
Correct.
use pleasing personality, but you also have to have some kind of tact and diplomacy. There's some words and phrases that you don't say.
Politically being
Yeah,
politically
I'm not.
correct.
I'm not.
Yeah.
And people say politically correct, and I can get down with that, but it doesn't have to be politically correct. There's some things I wouldn't say in front of my mother.
Right. Right.
There was some stuff I wouldn't say to my father. And there's some stuff I wouldn't say in front of my grandchildren. It's not politically correct for me. It's just the right thing to say and to not say.
Right.
If there's a way to speak so we're not offensive, why not go there? Now, there are some times. There was a beautiful story that they were talking about Mother Teresa, and Mother Teresa was talking about a whole bunch of world to a bunch of world leaders. And can you imagine this saintly little lady who's done so much
Hmm.
for the world? She's sitting there and she's reading and she talks and she looks and she says, "In the last year, 100,000 young people have died, and we don't give a damn about them."
Wow. They must have been like,
And she paused for effect. And this is what she said, Giovanna. And some of you are sitting out there more concerned with the use of the word damn than the 100,000 people who have lost their lives.
powerful.
Powerful. So saying it well is a point that it makes impact and people are paying attention and listening and not being harsh. So there's ways to speak, and again, it's cool these days to swear and to be harsh and to be politically correct or political. Is cool because it makes some people feel good. But I think that if you're divisive in your language, that's not good language. Now, I'm not saying it's not effective. It can be very effective. But when I'm saying say it well, say it so people that want to listen, that people want to follow you, people want to hear, believe what you say. Because in sales, and I know we're a bunch of us from the Napoleon Hill Institute are going to New York here soon, and Jeffrey
Yeah.
Gitomer, the king of sales, is going to be there.
Yes.
He likes to talk about that people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Mm-hmm.
He that he We like to do business with people that do value or give us value. We like to People don't like to be sold, but they like to buy. But the reality is people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. Be a person that is liked and trusted and known, and the stories we tell, the messages that we give will do so much more for the world. And ultimately, Giovanna, I think that we're here for a purpose, and that purpose is just not to serve ourselves, but to make this world a better place for those who are around us.
Oh, that's so good. I so agree with every word you said because I know that we can impact each other, right? It's our emotions, especially when it comes down to sharing your stories and you're using your emotions, you're actually connecting heart to heart so that someone can feel what you're feeling, what you went through, and that's where the trust gets built is by using your emotions into it and becoming like we said vulnerable to sharing your story. um we're not selling ourselves, and I love that in a sense because we're trying to impact another person through this story. We're not even selling this story, we're selling the message, that what we went through and overcame the adversity in our lives, because everyone goes through adversity,
Mhm.
is sharing the message that you can overcome this adversity as well. So it's the words that we choose in our stories are essential to come across that message, to make that message clear.
Yeah, I think the words that we use, words are very important. They are, but not only the words are important, but the emotion
Emotions.
connected to the words are hugely important. Um, Jim Rohn, great motivational
Love him.
speaker, motivational philosopher, used to have this analogy. He says that our words are like the little pens, little stick pins that you put in dresses
Mhm.
and hats and
Yeah.
stuff. That's how the words are. And if I was to throw that pen at you, it's gonna you'll feel it,
Yeah.
and it may even get lucky and stick you. But the emotion behind the words is almost like taking that pen and taping it to the end of a piece of rebar or bar. He can stab you with that pen and it can enter your body and it can kill you. So the energy is the emotion, energy in motion, emotion behind the words propel the words. So even though words are important, it's the emotion and the
Emotion behind.
energy behind the word that makes some of the biggest impact. I do this
That.
all the time, and I know this is recorded, but I want to teach people something on this. And it's such a simple exercise, but Giovanni, if you would play with me, I would appreciate it. The word is O. The word
Yeah.
is just O. So do me a favor, say O.
Oh.
Okay, say O like you're surprised.
Oh.
How about angry?
Oh.
How about disappointed?
Oh.
Happy?
Oh.
Oh, well, I think that was more passion than happy, but you get what I mean. One simple word, the word "oh," with different emotions following that word propels it and makes it different. So you have something good to say, you say it well, and you put emotion behind the word, and that emotion determines a lot of different things, the way that word
I
lands.
actually felt it, right? And you feel it
Yes.
from, from sadness to happy to excitement and
Yeah, enjoy.
yeah,
And so the words that we use matter, but the energy that we put behind it, the
behind
emotion
it.
that we put behind it is huge. Uh, Napoleon Hill often talked about the emotion when we have a thought, when we emotionalize that thought going into our
Yes.
subconscious mind, it does something different. It connects at a deeper
Mm,
level. So when we're talking about people, how are we using our words? How much emotion are we putting in? Now, we can have a vice of excess and we can have a vice of deficiency, right? You
yes.
can give too much and you can give too little. They used to say in hunting, don't use a cannon to kill a rabbit, right? You won't have any more rabbit. So
Right.
sometimes we say stuff with too much passion, too much excitement, too much energy where it doesn't warrant it.
Mm.
But also sometimes we say something that could be powerful, impactful, but we say it as if we're bored.
Mm.
So the word is important, but the emotion, the energy behind that makes it different, right? So we can have something good to say, but we don't have any energy, any emotion, or no attitude about it, no swag. We may not have any energy about it, and it's not gonna move. Or we
Yes.
can say something and it's just it's the way we're doing this too empowering. I can't hear you because you're too emotional with it. But
And I
then, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I love that because it's through the emotions that we really connect,
Yeah, it's a
right?
part. So it's this and that, but it's not this and it's this. We got to do both. We got to have good words and we got to put the right emotion by. Not the emotion isn't just a word. It's just how we flow with it, right? We move. I'm not Italian, but I played one on TV, right? I know I laugh because Giovanna's Italian and use words and gestures and move our body.
Right.
There's something with it. For in my culture, I talk big. I
Yes.
talk big and I make gestures and body movements, and that's who I am. And so
Mhm.
you can see me from a distance and know that I'm mostly excited about what I'm saying. But you can also see me when I'm down and I don't put any energy behind it. So, but that tells a story, right?
Yes.
So we got having something good to say. We've got saying it well. Uh, if people don't remember what you said, it's not gonna stick.
Mm.
If they don't remember. So what do you do to make it stick? That's why I like stories. I like analogies. I like metaphors. I like anchors. I like
Mm.
all those things because if I'm giving you a gift, I want you to remember it and do something with it. That's
Yes.
why Bill Gove said that sameness is the death of the speaker. But Les Brown says that you tell a story, make a point, then tell a story. The reason we can make it stick if we tie the emotion, we tie the
Hmm.
event, we tie it to a story so somebody can tie it in and use it. One of my favorite stories, G, that you told me, and it was a year ago maybe,
Hmm.
when you told me about your five names.
Mm.
And I love that story, and it resonated with me then, and it still resonates with me now. And I don't know if you have it in you, if you feel like it, but it would be wonderful if you just take some time to just tell us that story, and then I want to process it once you're done, if that's okay.
Sure. Let's take a quick commercial break and we'll come back with the story.
Now, the vast majority, approximately 95% of the people of all countries, go around and around without aim or purpose. They drift with the circumstances of life, good or bad.
A drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his own mind.
Whereas the successful individuals create their own circumstances and ride them to victory.
When you're on purpose, you're living on purpose. You will never quit if you have a real purpose.
A burning desire to be and to do is the starting point from which the dreamer must take off. But what I have done has been recorded, it's been tested, it's being taken to a free world, and it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born.
And it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born. We're some of those people that we're spreading this to the world. As your awareness grows, the doubt is gone so that you can manifest whatever it is your heart desires. Isn't that beautiful?
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Okay, so my story with the 5 names. Should I share that? Okay, so as you all know, I was born in Italy. And when I was born, I was supposed to be called Giovanni because my mom thought I was going to be a boy. Well, I made my debut and I became Giovanna after my grandfather. And around 7 or 8 years old, we came here from Italy and we started our new life. And we went to school, and Giovanna wasn't a very popular name, may I say. Giovanna was a strange name. So everyone knew I was an immigrant, and my sister's name was Maddalena. So again, another strange name. And so they knew that we were immigrants, and we got made fun of, we got bullied, and we used to have a small dictionary in our pocket to look up words, the meaning of words. If you remember the little small Webster dictionary. So we used to pull it out to figure out what words meant or what words to use. Well, one day I was really sick and tired of getting beat up and, bullied and just being sad, just not enjoying school. Came home. My sister and I pull out the dictionary and we said, okay, what does Giovanna mean? And what does Maddalena mean? And Giovanna had Jean, Joan, Joanne. So I picked Joanne because my second grade teacher was so beautiful. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be just like her. And no one's going to know I'm Italian. And my sister picked Marilyn after Marilyn Monroe because she had a little dimple right here above her lip. So she was known as Marilyn. So we had our new names, and it felt like we were just part of the community. Like, we didn't feel like strangers anymore just by the name. So I made sure that my family called me Joanne going forward. I didn't want to hear Giovanna. I wasn't even paying attention to Giovanna, right? I didn't want to hear that name. Anyway, I went through life being called Joanne. My nieces and nephew called me Aunt Jojo. So I had this other name, Aunt Jojo, and it was so cute. But Joanne was my name, and I started doing all my credit cards. And as I grew up in life, everything changed except my driver's license. So whatever, I even had my mortgage under Joanne. But here comes, many years later, I get this knock on the door. I get a wake-up call. But Joanne wanted to prove to everyone that she was a success. So I went to school. I studied at night. I worked really hard. I have a master's in banking. Then I went back to school again. I got a master's in education because my son in school developed epilepsy, and a teacher just was a beacon of light for me. And I'm like, okay, I'm changing careers. And I worked really hard to achieve success in life. And then one day I got this call, and it was my doctor telling me that I have breast cancer. And that was my biggest wake-up call, because I wanted to know I did everything right. Where did I go wrong? And as I look back, I knew that I changed who I was. I changed from Giovanna to Joanne and lived my life not being authentic, trying to please everyone, trying to get those degrees and the certifications, and trying to get noticed. So I had everything, but then I lost the most important thing to me was my health at the time. And my journey led me to go back and really to reconnect to who I truly was. And after my cancer journey, I made it. I'm blessed to be here to share this story, but to know that to go through life trying to be someone you're not is a big mistake, because we do pay the price. And eventually we go back to who we are and we become happy again, because now we're working from our truth. We're working from the heart. We're not here to please anyone but ourselves first, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And I was always pouring from the empty cup until there was nothing more to pour. So that is my story. And through my transformation, I developed a beautiful program called the Rainbow. And the Rainbow really are steps in order to go through this transformation, because going through change, as we know, it's not easy, but it can be done. It's getting back to who you truly are. And each letter, it's a nice framework. Each letter represents a step that gets you into the direction of finding your purpose, finding, what you're here, your gifts and what you bring to this world, and to share them. So that's my story.
Awesome. I love that story. And again, I go back to having something good to say, saying it well, and making it stick. I remember you told me that story so long ago, and it's just like it's right there. I think I just know you better, and it connected. I mean, you're an Italian immigrant young lady. I'm an older gentleman that was born in this country in the South, but I can connect with you based on that story, because I remember I didn't like my first name because it was so different. Lefford Fade isn't a common name. And there was a time in my life that I wanted to fit in, right?
Yeah.
And so I can connect with you, and many other people can connect with us based on the power of our stories. So it's huge. So there's so much power in this whole thing called storytelling. And then again, people remember stories. The incomparable Maya Angelou said, people will not remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. And so when you tell a story, you make us feel a certain way. And I know how I felt about my name, and then how I felt about when I discovered how great my name was to me. So
Right.
I love, love, love the use of story, especially a story that was told well.
Thank you. It's it's helping others, knowing that your story can have an impact on someone's life, that it could truly mean life or death, right? There's stories. I had a few shows ago, we had people sharing their, for mental health. The title of the show was regarding mental health. And there was story of one who tried to attempt suicide, and through his story he's impacting lives to say, what, it's not, you can come through this. We all go into a dark space, and this is the power of the stories that we tell, is that to help us see that there is light. There is light, and there is a rainbow, from any adversity that we go through. We both studied Napoleon Hill, and one of the things that I love, love, love is that sometimes we feel lost because we're not surrounded with a community that understands us, or is supporting us in a way to help us move through adversity. And we know that he says it very well, Napoleon Hill, is that every adversity has a seed that is equal or better, um, from that adversity, that we will gain an equivalent. Oh my God, I'm saying it wrong. I'm twisting the words. Every adversity has an equal or equivalent benefit, meaning that, I say it, you're not going through this stuff for no reason. There is something that is going to come out of it, if you can only give yourself that opportunity and that chance to see it, and to see that there's something that will come from it.
Yeah, I love that, and I'm excited about that, because it is so true. that it's, you almost forget it sometimes. Sometimes the obvious stuff negatively impacts us. But Giovanni, could you imagine though if Napoleon or or what's the name? If Napoleon, if Jack Canfield, or John Maxwell, if Oprah, if none of these people decide to tell their stories, we wouldn't know that we can overcome.
Right.
In the commercial that you played, you had Gandhi, you had Dr. King. I thought I saw JFK. You got the Winston Churchills of the world. All these people
Yeah.
telling stories of a better way. The "I Have a Dream" speech. There's the Gettysburg Address. All these powerful stories that spark something in us to know that we can go do and be more.
Absolutely.
So telling stories are powerful things. And another great thing about when I'm talking about making it stick reminds me of the story of Roger Bannister. He was the guy that broke the first person to break the 4 minute mile. Because that story was told over and over and over and over and over again, millions of people around the world have shot to achieve that great goal, right? And so whenever we pass on information in story format, it can be taken and used for a long, long time. That's why the important part of making it stick is there. Because if we can plant a story in somebody's spirit and somebody's soul, that they take that and go some other place, we can just spread goodness around the world.
And that's exactly what we can do with stories. Absolutely.
Yes,
And
yeah.
more people uh, need to come out with their stories, because it's not only helping them by
Mhm.
sharing it, but it's making a greater impact. Part of your, you are part of Napoleon Hill Institute, and you do the training for public speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, so you've heard many, 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 many stories. Share some with us that have truly made an impact. I know you've talked about mine, but I'm sure you came across a lot more.
Well, I've heard so many great stories. I remember on this young lady, Philippa.
Mm,
She's a young lady who would say she has a physical handicap. And I remember we were on a call and she was talking about her life and about how she felt as being a person with disabilities. And to me, it was a beautiful story. I asked her a question. I said, Philippa, you say that you're a handicap. How handicapped are you? She said, well, I'm 20% this and 10% that. I said, let's say, let's say if you took a test and you scored 95 on there, would you say that you're 5% wrong, or would you say that you're 95% right?
mm, I
She
like.
was like 95% right. And then so we kept telling the story. So I asked you, are you able or are you disabled? And she actually started thinking and talking about how many abilities she had. And so she talked about, I am not going to define myself for my disabilities, but I'm going to define myself about my abilities. And so to me, that was a powerful story.
Powerful.
Cleona, the CE, not the, yeah, she's the
She's.
CEO of the Napoleon
Hmm.
Hill Institute. She told her story about coming from Ireland and
Hmm.
how she grew up poor and how she found the DVD of The Secret, and
Yeah.
that was the beginning of her journey. We're studying Think and Grow Rich, the legacy, and in that book it tells hundreds of stories of different people that have struggled and overcame through struggle. All of those stories are things that shows me, as
Hmm.
you said earlier, that there's a better way, that I
Hmm.
can be and do more than I'm currently doing. So many of those stories have helped me to be better. And finally, I'll say this, my own story to me. Because every once in a while, Giovanna, I'm not feeling my best. I'm not feeling that I'm winning. And I can go back and look at the stories that I've lived before and say, you know what? I've been here before and I came through on the other side. Not only am I back on the other side, I'm back on the other side better than I was before. So the internal stories that we tell are also very powerful stories that benefit us.
Oh, I love that. So yeah, it's the words. I mean, obviously, if you're saying your story over and over again and you can inspire others, you're actually inspiring yourself first, right? You're in
Yeah.
spirit, sharing this story of hope and giving someone else courage and hope to get through whatever they're going through.
Exactly. And Giovanna, I will be honest, for every, there's a law of polarity. For every good
Mhm.
thing, there's a negative. There are
Yes.
plenty of us that are telling ourselves the wrong story. The I'm not enough story. The
Yeah.
if I could go here or be there, I would be better. If I had this much money, I would be happier. There are stories that we tell ourselves every day. I say choose the story that we want to tell.
Absolutely.
Choose the
Absolutely.
story that we want to tell.
And let me add to that, you can change your story at any time. All you need to do is make a decision that you don't want to repeat that story anymore because you are in charge of what you're saying. You are creating your reality. And, this was a great wake up call for me to understand that I am truly in charge of the words that come out of my mouth and I create with my words. Again, that was profound. And I've learned this all through the Napoleon Hill Institute, studying Think and Grow Rich and really understanding how I became aware of my words and my thoughts, because thoughts are things we do create with thoughts. And so there is another whole meaning to like the power of words when we speak to ourselves that truly affect our emotions, our energy, right? You can have a positive mental attitude, you can have enthusiasm, and it's going to lift you up. Or you could be living in fear, worry, and doubt, and it's going to bring you down. And, you know, it, this information is powerful that we're learning because it truly affects what we're seeing in our reality.
True. And my favorite book, the Bible, it says something like this: the words have the power of life and death. We can speak into existence and we can speak out of existence. In that same text, there are two words of antiquity that mean a whole lot: beware and behold. Beware, be careful, watch out,
Mm,
what's coming, and behold, wow, look at this beautiful thing, look at this beautiful opportunity. And so the way we use our words matters, right?
yes.
It matters. Have something good to say it well, and make it stick. And if you can use that in our communications, and Giovanna, it's not just standing on the stage, it's not just making a sales call, it's talking to our families, it's talking to our friends, it's talking to the people that we care about and who care about us. These are powerful principles that we can use to speak
Yeah.
and to be heard. Now, one of the things that I teach on the classes every week and around the country and world is a formula that I learned from a gentleman by the name of Craig Valentine. And Craig Valentine was the world champion public speaker in 1999. He was the world champion of public speaking. And he taught me this thing called the parts formula. And I
Mm,
want to share the parts formula with you and the audience because I think what it can do is it can help them communicate better, tell better stories, and actually pass messages off more effectively. The first one is the P, and it's what's the point? And I
mm,
look at what's the point, what's the premise, what's the phrase? The point is like, what are you trying to get across? What is that thing that you're saying, Lefford, I need you to know this. What is the point? And and the phrase is take that point and put it in 10 words or fewer so as people can take that with them, right? I have a talk called For Real, and part of it is the R is relationships. And to me, Giovanna, relationships matter. When you take care of relationships, those relationships take care of you. So that's the point of my whole story, that relationships matter. The next letter is A, which is an anchor.
Right.
Anchor, you can anchor it with an analogy. You can anchor it with an activity. You can anchor with an anecdote, which is basically a story. What is the story that proves my point? What is the story that proves my point? So you got the P, you got the A. The R is reflection. Whenever we're having a conversation, Giovanna, with anybody,
Yes.
what I want them to do is think about what I'm saying. What does it make them think about? Not necessarily what I said, but what do they think about what I said?
Right.
And you do that by asking questions or saying imagine, or you doing the what ifs. Those are ways to get the audience to reflect on your point. Because again, I remember when you were talking about all these names, and I was thinking about, what am I called? Do I match my name? Am I living into my name? Right? So I reflect. The fourth part of the parts formula is the T, which is technique. One of the things that I get a little frustrated with, I hate to say this, but I get a little frustrated with some speakers because they're doing is talking about how awesome they are, have all the things that they have. But if you're going to share that with me, Giovanna, I want you to give me a technique or a tool to help me go from where I am to where I want to be. I want you to tell me how you went from being poor to how you became rich. I want to know the how. I want a technique. And in the parts formula, there's a particular technique. How do you do that? One of my techniques is to get a sheet of paper and write down what your perfect day would look like. What time would I get up? What time would I go to bed? What would I do? What would I eat? Who would I spend time with? Who would I love? You know, what is my perfect day? That's a technique that you write that down.
Sure.
And the S part, which is the sales part, is somebody's asking the question, why should I listen to Leffert? Why should I listen to him? You may be asking yourself in the audience then, why should we listen to them? Because I'm a speaker, I'm a trainer, coach. I've seen a lot, I've read a lot, I've studied a lot, I've failed a lot, and I've won a lot. And so if you learn how to communicate better, if you learn that everybody speaks, say it so people will listen, say it well, and make it stick. If you do that, you will communicate better with your friends, your peers, your family, the people that you love. And that's hugely important. So you have to have a sale. So I teach the parts formula. And just that little roadmap, that little technique can help us all become better communicators. So
and make a difference, right?
yes,
Because your story has a purpose, and that's another thing. Like, as we own our stories, we are truly creating a ripple effect to have people not only connect to it, but create their own stories, right? So if I told my story and someone connected to my story, my hopes is that they see the light, they come out of the darkness, and now they share their stories, because that becomes more powerful when we are collectively sharing our stories and putting, the love and the care to one another, because that's what essentially we're doing with our stories.
amen. And I love it. I love the whole part about you can live vicariously through my story. You can learn something from what I did or did not do. That's why I used to love the 70s and 80s shows, even the 90s shows. You'll watch a show and in 30 minutes there's a moral to the story, right? There's this
The
moral.
Brady Bunch.
Yeah, any of Brady Bunch, Little House on the Prairie, Bonanza, all of those, there was always a resolution towards it at the end. And telling speeches and giving speeches and speaking and talking is a way for us to share that, and we can spread all those cool things around.
Absolutely, because that's we're all in it together here, guys, right?
Yeah,
We're all
yeah,
together. And I think, I know it feels so great when we can really lift each other up and inspiring others with our stories, but saying it, as you mentioned, in a way that it sticks, and where people can take it home and not just leave the audience and say, oh, that was a great story, but actually go home and take some steps to change your lives with that story. That's truly the intention when we're doing telling our stories.
Yeah. Giovanna, as we get ready to close up, I just want to share something. This
Yes.
stuff really does matter. In 2014, I went to work for the South Carolina Department of Corrections and I ran healthcare for Department of Corrections. After that stint, I was given the opportunity to give a TEDx talk in Charleston, South Carolina.
Check it out, guys. It's awesome. It's on YouTube. Okay.
Well, thank you. But the thing is that I was talking about something that a lot of people weren't very interested in. They weren't very interested in incarcerated peoples and returning citizens. They thought that most of those people deserve what they got. And because I had a story to tell or actually several stories that I experienced and learned while working in the Department of Corrections, I was able to lift the veil on a very serious situation, to be able to help these folks that were dealing with things. And based on that talk, I've had a lot of opportunities to speak at mental health conferences, medical conferences, at state departments. I've trained at the American Correctional Association, and it was just the power of a story well crafted that I was able to help change the laws in the state of South Carolina, that every law enforcement person had to get 8 hours in identifying mental health issues so they can save lives. So every one of us got a story that means something, and you may not think it's a big deal, but you can impact people. As the last time I looked, I had over 500,000 views on this particular talk. But the important part is not how many people saw it. The important part to me is that lives and laws have been changed based on that. And I'm not special by any stretch of the imagination. All of us have stories. You have a story, but we have something special to say.
Yeah.
Don't go to your grave without sharing your story, because your story's not for you. Your story's for the world. You know that when a tree bears fruit, the fruit is not for the tree.
I love that. I love that. Amen to that.
It's for the world. And so go tell your story, share your story. You have something special, in that people may not listen to me, they may not listen to Giovanna, but somebody will listen to you. And what you give the world can save somebody. And I think that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lefford. That's beautiful. So if anyone would like to contact you, Lefford, to work directly with you.
Yeah, you can reach me at leffordfate.com. That's LEFFORDFATE.com. I am on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I am on LinkedIn. I'm a speaker, trainer, coach, and I am a husband, father, and grandfather. And if there's anything that I can do to serve you, any way I can help you tell your story more efficiently and effectively, please give me a shout, because I know you have something good to say. Let's say it well.
Yes, that's beautiful, beautiful ending. We're going to do another quick commercial and then come back and say goodbye. Yeah, I wanted to share that with everyone because the event is coming up tomorrow, and it's going to be amazing. If you are ready to really tell your story, understand the principles of success, because that is really what Napoleon Hill put out there for all of us to embrace and use. I encourage you to please register. Any final words, Lefford? I thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And you know what, Giovanna, we're doing something. There could be just one person out there that decides to tell their story based on this. But I'll tell you, I was looking at that video and remember last year when we were in New York going through that thing. There's something.
I wish I was there. I wasn't, so I'm not.
Yeah, I got FOMO going on, you know, fear of missing out. But this is what I'll tell you, that we got these stories within us, right? That somebody needs to hear.
Yes.
And needs to share. And it's just such a cool thing to be able to add value to someone. I promise you, it'll make you a happier person by doing that.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lefford, for joining me today. And we'll see you next week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me on Sparking Change with Gigi. I hope that our episode today has ignited a spark within you to create positive change in your own life and in the world around you. To learn more about how you can become a guest or supporter, head over to sparkingchangenow.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to me, and it helps me to continue producing content that sparks change in each of us and the world. You can find us on various platforms, including Google Play Store, Apple App Store, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to having you join me again next week on Sparking Change with Gigi.